welcome to another Checiegirl Creations video. So I know it's been a while and I will update you guys on what's been going on throughout the video. It's a long one, so get comfortable. This video is for like the second week of the April Showers challenge, day 5 through 9. You guys will probably know that I have taken a break because I hurt my wrist. It's nothing like extremely serious, but it's like a repetitive injury, so it's not completely better yet. So I haven't been able to restart the challenge like I wanted to, but as soon as like I can, I will. And yeah, so what I will do is for videos from now on, I'll just do them with my left hand. So they'll be very random, not like my normal ones. Probably just like lots of art journaling ones and stuff like that. And like kind of things that I've been doing with my left hand that I found that my left hand can do. Because I don't want to like leave you guys hanging for a really long time. And I do miss making videos and sharing like my processes with you guys. So this is day 5, prompt walk. Of course I did the whole like thumbnail thing, figured out like where the colors and, well, not the colors, sorry, like the shades and tones were going to go. And I started off first with the path. So basically our little character, Lana, is walking up a woodland path. So she's quite small in this one, just because I wanted to get a bit of the wood. I wanted to show how big it was. Perspective is like one of the most challenging things with like this challenge, but I think I didn't do too badly. Yeah, I did actually create one of my favorite ones out of the challenge so far, and we'll get to that when we do. But yeah, this one was quite challenging. I know I will have to edit it digitally because now that I look at it, I didn't get as much contrast as I did with like the others, and yeah, so that's something I'll have to fix up digitally. But apart from that, I'm happy with how it went. It was really difficult to get the trees down. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know the only kind of trees I can do is like pine trees, and that's like in one style, and palm trees. So it was quite tricky, and I'm not completely happy with how I got the foliage down, but I think it's good enough for this one. It's not too bad. I was trying my best not to be too hard on myself with these illustrations because I know I'm challenging myself in lots of ways. So with the like trees, I thought I would want them to be quite overlapping. I really like woods that don't really have like clear paths and that kind of thing. So they might have a few clear paths, but most of them are like, it's kind of overgrown, the trees are very close together. I like that kind of more natural, like unkept look. So that's what I was going for this illustration. So I made some of the trees like kind of not too straight. I wanted them to kind of be like leaning in certain ways, as if like the canopy kind of goes over the pathway. So that's what I was like going for with this illustration. And like as I go through, I kind of like add rocks and like grassy bits to the pathway, and yeah, just keep on layering up. So what have I been doing recently? So if you've been following me on Instagram and Facebook, you'll know that I got fed up with not being able to create anything. I hate it when I can't, so I decided to use my left hand. And it's as if my left hand was just kind of like waiting for its moment to shine. It's strange how well I'm doing with my left hand. Like it's getting to the point as well where for other things I keep on using my left hand too as well. It's as if my brain is kind of like switching over, but certain things like writing, don't even ask me to do that with my left hand. So I have used my right hand. I made a couple cards for some people, and I wanted to like do the sentiments, like a kind of brush lettering, so I used my right hand for that, and it actually my wrist did feel quite tired after that, so that's how I know I definitely still need to ease myself into using my right hand again. I've been doing a few exercises with it, and it is getting stronger, it is improving, but I still need to take it easy. So yeah, I've been doing a whole bunch of different things. I've done the shape challenge, I did a couple landscapes with watercolor and gouache. I really enjoyed doing that. I think that'll be a future video, me doing like a landscape or something with my left hand. Yeah, so I'm thinking most of the month of April will be videos with my left hand, mostly so I can like get back into YouTube and stuff like that. Yeah. And one of the things I've also been doing since I found myself with like extra time, because I did also take a holiday because I got really burnt out, around day 8, 9, I was really starting to feel it. And then like day 10, it just completely, I couldn't get the sketch down. I realized I was both like physically tired because my wrist was hurting me. At some point you'll see that I was wearing a like a support thing, and I was also mentally drained. So that's also one of the reasons I decided to take a break. I don't feel more recuperated. It's kind of weird. It's as if doing less things has made me feel more tired. I'm not too sure what that's all about. But I did find a lot more free time to read. I haven't read in ages. Last time I picked up a book, I think it was like last year summer. So it's been a long time. I've read 2 books, and I'm on to my 3rd one. All of them are by Jasper Fforde with 2 Fs. The first 2 are like in the the last Dragon Slayer series. I really enjoyed it. There's 3 books. I was very devastated to find that the 3rd one ends in a cliffhanger, and the 4th one has not been written yet. The author says that he hopes to get it out by late 2020, early 2021, which is ages away. And it was left on quite a serious cliffhanger. If any of you are Marvel fans, it felt a little bit like at the end of Infinity Wars, where it was like, well, I hope they can sort things out because, oh boy, everything's like falling apart. So it's a bit like that. So I have to wait a long time for that. So I'll be constantly like, at the end of 2020, I'll be like checking in to see like if he's like published it yet. So I'm on the edge of my seat for that one. It's really nice. I really like it. The protagonist is this really cool like 16-year-old who's like really mature for her age, and just, I don't know how she does it. Like, she just keeps on going, and she's also extremely sarcastic. It's brilliant. I absolutely love it. And what I found is, at least with the Dragon Slayer books and the new one, I will talk about that in a second, he like includes stuff from the real world. So like in the Dragon Slayer books, it's kind of based in the UK, but instead of the United Kingdom, it's the Ununited Kingdom. So you have places like Wales and all that kind of thing, and it's really funny the way like he because like there's magic and like sorcerers in that book, but the way he pairs like the real world with like his fantasy world is really interesting, and I like it. And the new book that I've started this week, as I'm doing like this voiceover, is called The Big Over Easy, and it is part of the nursery crime series. So it's a detective book with nursery crime characters, not nursery crime, sorry, nursery story characters, and the way that they're portrayed is quite interesting, to say the least. And again, it's kind of based in the UK. Like the main place in this book is Reading, so I find that really interesting. I'm not explaining it very well, so you can feel free to look up Jasper Fforde. It's 2 Fs, and yeah, it's really interesting, and I'm enjoying it. I'm barely a quarter into The Big Over Easy, but it's interesting. I like it. Jasper Fforde might be one of my new favorite authors. So yeah, after this one, I do have another one, another book of his. If I really like The Big Over Easy, I'll get the second book. There's 2. That's part of the nursery crime series, I believe. I don't know if he's writing another one. I'll have to like check that out. But yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I've been reading, arting with my left hand, and yeah, that's kind of it. Oh, and talking to friends a lot, of course. So we can see that we're getting to like the end. Well, not actually the end, like more like the end of painting. There's a lot of layers that goes into this one, mostly because I went too light. Like, I do tend to start off light with the coffee illustrations, but I started off a bit too light, and I was also struggling. Like at one point I kind of lost Lana in the pathway, so I had to darken the pathway to make her stand out a little bit more, because I didn't want her like raincoat and umbrella and stuff like that to be darker than the other illustrations, because like throughout this video you'll see me looking at like the previous illustrations I made to make sure I was getting the colors right, and constantly swatching it out in my like thumbnail sketchbook always. Okay, so one of the things that really helped, I added in a shadow, and that kind of like placed her properly like in the scene, so she wasn't like floating or anything. And once I went in with the pencil, things just started to pop a little bit more. At like the start of this challenge, I decided that I was only going to use pencil on Lana, but as I went through, I realized that if there's a lot of background, the background is going to look really flat. And I also like adding textures to my piece. So that's also actually the main reason I decided to use colored pencils, because I don't normally do this. But I really like to add texture, and yes, the coffee was adding some, but I like to add a little extra. So I decided that I would use pencil like throughout the background, just more detailed pencil work on Lana, because I want her to stand out more. So it's more like just little touches of pencil here and there. And as you can see, I'm writing like the date as well as like the prompt, just to kind of keep track. I mean, I know what order they go in, but I don't know, I think it's nice to do so. And yeah, so on to day 6, prompt portal. I used 2 thumbnails for this, mostly because like I preferred the like shape of the second one, but I prefer the design from the first one because there will be 2 door illustrations. So yeah, that's the reasoning for the 2 thumbnails. So for this one, one thing I want to just like as a warning, like I kind of learned from my mistakes, is when you go to like sketch onto like your final piece of paper, you want to make sure your hands aren't greasy. And I had made the mistake of moisturizing my hands before I put the sketch down. So as you can see from the wash on the door, it's very patchy. And that's because the oils from my hand were repelling the coffee. So I ended up with a patchy look. Thankfully, it's a door, so I could get away with that kind of vintage look. But yeah, that's just kind of like a... just make sure your hands aren't too oily or anything before you go and like sketch for like your final piece, because you don't want the oils repelling the water or the paint or whatever. This one, I really liked how it turned out. I went for a kind of like door nestled in some foliage, like kind of vines and stuff, and I liked how I did the vines a lot more. I was a lot happier with like the foliage look than the previous one. And I really like wooden, like vintage doors. I really like, actually just anything wood. I just really like the look of it. So I thought I would go for that kind of look. At first I was going to go for a really dark door, but then I figured since the foliage would probably get kind of dark, it wouldn't really stand out. And I wanted to kind of put some patterns on the door as well. And I would have just made it a little bit more difficult for it to stand out. So I decided to go with a lighter door and some dark detailing, a kind of mid-tone path, and then darker foliage. And I liked how that worked out. Yeah, so I'm happy with how this turned out. One thing I want to say is, like, when I was using the Uniball Signo, like the white gel pen, I was finding that it was either looking as if it was clogging or like it wasn't coming out as bright, but that's just because it was picking up the coffee on the more like thicker areas. So like as I was like adding highlights to the pieces, I would just scribble it off on like a post-it note or like a scrap piece of paper just to get that coffee off the nib. And that's also one of the reasons I decided that I wouldn't like put these illustrations up for sale, because I'm pretty sure they won't be light fast, as well as like the coffee never really seems to like dry completely. Some of them are still a bit tacky in those really like thicker areas. So even if you layer up slowly, it will still get kind of tacky. So just be aware of that. And yeah, so that's one of the things I figured out. It's best to kind of have something to scribble off your gel pen on. And as well, you also don't want everything to be too like thick, because then the pencils won't stick either. So on the really thick, more shiny areas, the pencil won't really stick. The gel pen will. Just when I put it down, I make sure not to touch that area because I think it probably would pick up or smudge, and I don't want to do that. So yeah, just kind of careful of that. So, what have you guys been up to? I know mermaid has begun. Of course, I won't be taking part in that. I might do a mermaid for mermaid, but we'll see. I don't know. The challenges I want to do, I really want to do Inktober, and I'll probably do my own prompt list for that. I don't know like what I'll want to do for Inktober yet, but I have some time, and what I'll do is I'll make sure that the prompts are full and ready like in September, and not late September, like by mid-September, so I have enough time to like plan and do my thumbnails and everything, because I will definitely do like the thumbnails previously, so I don't have to figure out what I'm drawing on the day. Sorry, I'm umming a lot. It's been a while since I've done a voiceover. So yeah, I'll definitely do the thumbnails in before, and the prompts and stuff I want to get done well before as well. So by the time it's the 1st of October, everything's already planned out. I'm happy with how like the thumbnails are, and I can get going. And oh gosh, again. I don't know whether I want to do a story or something else, so we'll see when that time comes up. I was also thinking of doing Smorgas. I really think it'll be fun to do like a kind of like traveler's notebook style like documentation of like different dragon species. I know that's been done already, but I really like the look of it, and I think it'll be really cool to do all sorts of different dragons and like design different dragons for like each day in August. So I'm not too sure if I will. It all depends on how my wrist is and like whether I'm able to complete the April Showers challenge. I really want to get that done by May, and then I can like plan out Smorgasbord in June and have that all ready. So yeah, I'm not too sure with that yet, but I definitely want to do Inktober. So that's the plan for like future art challenges. I want to get like a couple like zines and stuff done in 2020. So yeah, that's my plan. So even if I don't like only do like things for challenges, I might do some other like zines and stuff as like the year goes on, but like smaller ones. I think like a challenge is kind of like a biggish zine because it's either 30 or 31 days, but I think it'll be kind of cool to do some like little zines as well, like just really cute small ones. So that's kind of the plan for as the year goes on. Hopefully my wrist does get better soon. As May goes on, I will update you on how my wrist is doing, and what I might have to do is any stuff I do with my right hand so I don't tire it out too much will be off camera, and I'll just use my left hand for videos until the foreseeable future. Thankfully my left hand is cooperating with me very well. So yeah, that's something I'll have to do. So I hope you don't mind like this video being kind of all over the place. I do just want to update you guys on what's been going on. Yeah, and I also have a couple like projects that I'm not at the point where it's ready to let you guys know about, but when it is, I will. And at least, actually, I think both of them I will do videos for, because I think that'll just be fun to do, and it might be useful for you guys to learn about whatever processes I was using for those projects. So I think those will be future videos, maybe coming out in June by the time I've finished like sorting everything out with those. Yeah, so back to the painting. As you can see, like I'm outlining the leaves and stuff. What I did is I outlined some of the leaves with like different pencils and stuff. I was kind of swapping between, and then some of the leaves with the white. I didn't want every single leaf to be detailed because it's all in like layers. But I thought it would be useful if some were kind of detailed. And as you can see, like as I went through the process, I started off with really light leaves, and then I darkened up, and I went down a brush size with each layer, so they would be slightly different sizes. So that's what I did for the vines, and I was really happy with how they turned out. And on to day 7, Themed Wander. Now with this one, I'm happy with some aspects and I'm not happy with some. So I'm not happy with how Lana turned out, mostly her face. I hope I can fix that up digitally. I wanted it to look like she had just gone through this door and it was really like cool. She saw something interesting. and it just didn't look right. Yeah, I couldn't even get like the sketch down properly, and then when I painted it, it just looked worse than the sketch did. So I'm hoping to be able to fix that digitally. But the things I did love, um, I loved how the brick wall turned out. The door turned out well, but the brick wall was like my favorite. I really like doing bricks. I don't know why. Every time I do something with bricks in it, I really enjoy it. Don't know what that's all about. But I think maybe it's because like you can put lots of texture in it. The brick wall was more like a stone wall. So it wasn't like more like man-made cut bricks. It was more like stones that were like piled on top of each other. So I went for that kind of look. And then I really like the look of man-made structures with like nature or like organic stuff like on it. So I put like a vine over the wall, and I really liked how that looked. So like with the wall, at first I did like the wash, as you can see, and then I just put like shapes, kind of abstract, like kind of rectangle shapes with my brush kind of loosely. I think I'm doing that now. And then I just built up, like some are lighter just so that they would stand out a bit more, and then I just kind of put splotches of the paint, or the coffee should I say, to create like some shadows as well as like a kind of stone texture, so you can see like there's indentations and stuff like that. And then I put the vine over. The vine took a lot of layers just because it was going over the brick wall, but that was fine. And yeah, I really loved how the brick wall turned out. It's just a shame I wasn't able to get Lana down very well. Otherwise this would have been like one of my top like illustrations. And the door went well. I basically just had to copy the same design from the previous illustration, so that wasn't too bad. I feel as if I got the perspective or something a bit off, but that's fine. I don't mind that too much. It's just a shame I didn't really get her right. So I'm hoping to be able to like sort that out digitally. But yeah, I really love how the brick wall turned out so much. It looks so cool. Yeah, so I knew I was going to tell you guys something, but I've forgotten. Oh yes, I wanted to talk a bit about my sketchbook. So at some point I got a bit bored with it, and I think it's because I was only doing like anatomy stuff, and I got really bored doing anatomy stuff. I haven't actually worked on that in a while, but that's fine at the moment. And I decided to just do like random stuff in my sketchbook. So I've done patterns, I've done the shape challenge, I've done a few of those. I have one more spread to do. I think I might make that a video. If you want to see that as a video, let me know in the comments below. I think that would be kind of interesting. The shapes already down, is just to do the doodles. And I've also done like the continuous line drawing challenge with my left hand. That was fun. That was really quick. Like if you only have like a few minutes, you can do that, because I think I did those like between 5 and 10 minutes and not even like a full 10 minutes. It was just really quick. I did one of my succulents and my water bottle. The succulent I did was a money plant, which I thought I was almost killing because like the leaves were dropping off, and I was freaking out because I think it's really bad if you kill a succulent. That just takes a whole nother level of talent right there. But I googled it and found that basically it was like the days when we were having really sunny days, it was by the window. That's normally where I keep my plants, and the sun had burnt the leaves, so that's why they dropped. So I gave it a bunch of water to just kind of like make up for that loss, because basically it was dropping leaves because it was so dry it couldn't like sustain all of them, a bit like what happens to the trees in autumn. So I gave it a bunch of water, and it's actually sending off a new shoot, like a side shoot. So I think I'm getting another branch. I need to figure out how to support it properly, because it likes to like droop or just go straight to the sun a lot. So it's constantly like kind of wobbly looking or just like leaning a little bit, but it's okay. Like the stem is still firm and everything. But yeah, I need to figure out how to support it properly. I'm not very skilled when it comes to like taking care of plants, to be honest. So yeah, but it's doing okay. One of my other succulents is growing really well. I don't know the names of the other succulents I have, so I can't really Google to see like how to look after them very well. But one of them is growing well. She's doing quite well, and then the other one is just kind of in limbo. It actually fell a couple days ago, and it fell straight out of the pot. There was dirt all over my studio. And I found that because it fell out of the pot, some of its roots got ripped. So yeah, I feel really bad about that. I'm hoping it doesn't take too much of a hit because it's starting to look a bit brighter. It's no longer like brown like it used to look. But yeah, so we'll see. That one's in limbo, but 2 out of 3 I think is pretty good. I'm thankful for that. So yeah, that's what's been going on. I've been freaking out over my plants. I've been reading and stuff like that. It's been very weird. Oh, and watching lots of Disney Plus, like way too much Disney Plus. I've even started to use that as an excuse. Because I'm saying I'm researching styles, so that means I have to watch things like Atlantis like 3 times in the space of like 2 weeks because I'm studying the style because I really like the style. And I'm figuring out what kind of style I want for my graphic novel. I think I have an idea. What I need to do is put that down on paper. I'll wait for my wrist is better though, because I can't really do that with my left hand. Not as quickly as I would want. Yeah, it would just be no. When I'm putting down ideas, I want to be able to like kind of jot them down, but they're mostly in my head. Like all the research I've been doing for my graphic novel, there's so much that goes into a story, and it's like there's going to be like 4, maybe 5 parts to the story, so I'm building a whole world. It's a lot of work. So yeah, that's what I've been also doing, just kind of figuring out like color language and shape language and all that, and watching different videos to get an idea. It's crazy the amount of work that goes into it. Like I always knew there was lots of work to go into like building a story and like a world, but oh my word. It's quite a challenge, like trying to figure out like what, because yeah, and I'm still trying to write down the script. I'm really struggling with putting like what's in my head down in paper, so I keep on trying. And yeah, so that's what I've been doing. I figured out kind of what I want the style to look like. Yeah, so I've been watching a lot of Disney Plus. It's really nice actually to be able to just watch the Disney movies that I grew up watching. Because normally we don't have a lot of the CDs that we had dead because I watched it so often. You can always tell which ones my favorites are because you put it in and it just kind of just freaks out a little bit and then just refuses to play. So it's nice to be able to binge watch Disney Plus. So we're getting to the finishing part of this illustration. You can see how the brick wall turned out. Love it. You can see how the vines went. You can see I had to put a lot of layers on the vines, and again when I like lined the vines, I didn't line all of them with like the pencil. I think I lined most of them though with the white gel pen, and I added some textures to the bricks. I didn't want to add too much because I didn't want like Lana not to stand out very well, but I added just a little bit just to kind of give that kind of stony texture to it. This is the kind of stuff that I practice. Like I know I've been saying a lot that I dropped the ball when it came to practicing anatomy and that kind of thing and perspective, but the stuffs that I did work on when I first like started to take art a little bit more seriously is things like textures and like working with a bunch of different mediums. Like a lot of mediums I kind of have an idea of how to work with them, so I can wing it, like acrylics, watercolors, oils, pastels a little bit. Pastels are still quite tricky for me, but yeah, I kind of know how to wing a lot of different mediums, so I dabbled in a lot of things, and I still kind of dabble, but just not as much as I did when I was younger. I didn't have the responsibilities when I was younger to have to focus on. I was just kind of playing around mostly, as well as just like figuring out how to do different textures and work with different tools. So when I get to splurge on like playing around with textures, I'm always really happy because that's the kind of stuff I'm comfortable with. So that's one is done. on to day 7. Yeah, no, sorry, day 8, prompt crowd. This one again, it was quite challenging because of the perspective, but I'm really happy with how this one turned out. You basically have like a bunch of people walking down a pathway, and there's market stalls on the side, and you can see that the people are just shapes. You'll be able to see a bit easier once like they've been painted. But basically, I have 2 reasons for doing shape people, I'm going to call them. One, I was too lazy to have to draw multiple people in detail. That's one. And 2, I thought since it was like Lana's story, I wanted her to stand out more. So she's in detail, but the shape people in the background aren't. And I thought that would be kind of interesting. So that's also my second reason. And I'm also actually glad that I went with it, because you'll see in day 9 that you see Lana and the shape people in one illustration. And I really like the way it looks because it pushes them more to the background. So I'm happy with how that looks. I'm happy I decided to be lazy and just go with it. So yeah, so the shape people basically circle for a head, a kind of triangle shaped body. A lot of them have umbrellas because of course it's supposed to be a rainy day. And just like stick arms and stick legs. In this one, they don't have any arms. Again, was feeling way too lazy to put those in. In day 9, they do have, some of them have arms. So the things I found challenging with this was 1, the perspective. Trying to get the angles right. I don't know if I did, but I like how it looks, so I'm happy with it. 2, oops, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, I like to jump around in the illustrations, so I was trying to figure out like what was the best way to paint so that I can do more than one area without having to worry about like running into areas where I didn't want the coffee to go. As well as for the market stall, I figured there would be like kind of like a gazebo covering over the market stall so that they wouldn't get wet. I know whenever I've been at a market, there tends to be a gazebo over top, but I didn't want it to just be like a plain color. I wanted them to be clear. So what I did was I did the shape people behind the stalls. I did whatever vegetables or produce or something, whatever's on the stalls. You can see there's just blobby shapes. I went kind of abstract with some parts of this illustration, very much shapes, just to kind of leaving it more for the viewer to kind of build their own like image a little bit. So I painted them in, and I waited a little while before I went in to add like the covering. So basically I just gave it a very light wash of coffee using a biggish brush. I think I used like the size 8, not the size 12. The 12 was too big and juicy, so the 8 was a bit more easier to like control. And when I put the wash down, I made sure to not do too many passes with my brush so that it wouldn't pick up the coffee. Yeah, so it was just a few like strokes of the brush, and then I lined it once that was dry. And then you can see that because it's slightly blurry, because the coffee doesn't really lift, but it does kind of lift when you go over it. So of course it's not permanent, but because it doesn't lift very easily, the shape people and like some like the top of the stalls are still pretty clear, but they're slightly blurry to show that there is something over top. And I really like how it turned out, and I'm really glad I decided to go with that. It looks a lot more interesting, I find, and yeah, so I was really happy with how that turned out. And again, when I added like some rain, it also did that weird kind of bleedy thing. I really don't know what that's all about. I'm thinking it might be the paper, because this paper, it warps very easily, which can be quite frustrating. Thankfully, when it dries, it does kind of dry back flat. And of course, like once I've finished, I do put it like in between a book so it flattens out even more. But I feel as if the paper isn't very absorbent. So like the water will sit on the paper, and because of that, it kind of bleeds sideways. So what I think I will do, any future illustrations I do with coffee, like not in this series, I'm not going to change the paper or anything, because it might change the look, and I want all the illustrations to like look like they're together, like they're part of a whole. So I think any future coffee illustrations I do, I will try to find a better paper for it. I definitely won't, this won't be the last time I do coffee once the challenge is over. I really enjoy painting with it. It's basically like a sticky watercolor. I think I've said this before, but it's really nice. I mean, it smells great, that's for one, because I don't like the taste of coffee, but I love the smell, so it smells delicious. It's a shame it doesn't taste delicious. That's always disappointing. But yeah, it smells really nice. It's fun to work with, like this kind of sepia, like monochromatic look. I really like that. Which is also why I want to do Inktober, because I've done like a sepia monochromatic look, and I think it'll be really fun to do a black and white look as well. I was thinking I might use a color, but actually I think I'll just leave Inktober black and white and maybe have gold in it, because I like gold and I think that would be fun to add. So yeah, I really like the kind of monochromatic look, because I love my colors, don't get me wrong. I love like throwing almost every color underneath the rainbow onto one piece and making that work. I've always enjoyed that challenge, but it's also fun to work just with like tones and like the same color but in different tones. And yeah, so I really enjoy that, and that's why I want to do Inktober. And I don't know if I'll ever do like any other challenges monochromatic, because I think I might go more colorful with other ones, but at least for these I will. So I think I'll definitely at some point go back to doing some kind of coffee illustrations every now and again, just for fun. And yeah, so okay, so we're adding details and stuff. You can see most of the stalls and everything are finished. I'm going to add some more details to the people. Another thing, I really struggle with doing umbrellas. I don't know why. Like, do you guys have any tips on how to like make drawing umbrellas easier? Because it's a struggle. I think I'm doing something wrong, but I can't really tell what it is. But yeah, it's a real struggle to do umbrellas and make it look okay. Yeah, it's quite difficult. Yeah, they look a bit odd, but I'm just going with it. There's only so many things I can like be nitpicky about, so I'm just deciding to pick my battles and just leave my weird umbrellas looking the way they are. As long as you can tell they're umbrellas, I'm happy. With this as well, I had to make sure that the people contrasted enough, like kind of stood out. So I think I made their clothes a little bit darker than like the umbrellas and hats and stuff, so that they would stand out from each other and it wouldn't just depend on the line work. That's a thing, like I am lining everything with the coffee, but I don't want to depend on that to separate everything. So sometimes it does help to separate certain things, like especially in the market stall where like a lot of tones are kind of the same, but in certain areas I do want to have enough contrast so that I don't have to depend on the line work and it all doesn't look like one big brown blob. Yeah, so that's what I was doing. Yeah, so I think it's getting to the point where I can do the wash over the market stalls. What I had to do though, I had to go in with like my ruler, and you'll see at some point I use my ruler to kind of draw out the guidelines for the like gazebos, because I had lost that with the sketch, so I use a ruler and like the paintbrush, and that worked out well. Of course it's not going to just stay completely straight. It will kind of seep underneath the ruler a little bit, but so just kind of go slow if you're using a ruler and a paintbrush to just kind of put in the guidelines, and maybe use like a smaller paintbrush as well to have a little bit more control. And yeah, so okay, so here we go, adding that wash. You can see I went over very quickly, just a few strokes, and you can see it lifted up a slight, like very slightly, but not too much, so it didn't all flow or anything. That's the thing with the coffee, it doesn't really flow, I would say. It kind of sits a little bit, so you can see I'm just drawing in those guidelines with the paintbrush, and then I'll strengthen them. Like once they dried, I kind of strengthened them again. Yeah, and I really loved how this one turned out. Again, with the pencil, what I did was I didn't put any pencil details like underneath the gazebo, because it's not supposed to be very sharp and clear. I just did it on the market stalls and like the people and the umbrellas and like the pathway. And this is where I decided to definitely have pencil in the background because I really liked the way it looked, and I decided that that's the way I was going to carry on afterwards. And yeah, so I do want to thank you guys for like being so patient and like waiting up for me to like get better. So thanks for being really understanding about that. Yeah, I really can't wait to get back to work. And yeah, so thanks for being like patient and understanding, and I hope that by June things will get back to normal. I'll be able to use my right hand again. I'll be able to like do videos and stuff with that. I'll be able to like finish off my challenge. So I'm hoping so. And I also hope that everyone is doing okay in these crazy times. Like, I feel as if I'm in a bad dream. But I hope everyone is like doing okay. You can let me know like what you've been doing to try to stay sane. As I've told you before, like already, I've been reading and using my left hand to do stuff. The reading is definitely helping me to stay sane. I spend most of my day reading now. Actually, I wake up, I read. I might read throughout, like at some point during the day, as well as like after dinner I read, and then once I'm in bed I read again, then I go to sleep. So that's what I've been doing. My schedule is all over the place now. Interesting. I think what I've learned is I don't want to stop reading. Like I'm kind of running out of books, but I don't want to like just stop once I get back to work. I think it's important for me to give myself a bit more time for more personal things. I do tend to overwork myself a lot. Like I'm either not in anything at all, or I'm in it like too much. Like I'm either or extremes, like extremely lazy or overworking myself, and I need to find like more of a balance. So I think while everything's kind of like up in the air with like what's going on with the world, I'm going to try to figure out a better way to schedule my work week so that I don't burn myself out like every couple months, and I'm able to do things like reading. Like reading, I would say, is one of my main hobbies, but I don't get to do it much. I do kind of read before I go to bed, but like that's just I just read the Wizard of Oz series because it's easy to read and it's better than watching videos before I go to sleep. So that's what I do, but I think to get to my list of books, I will figure out a better schedule so I can do that. Yes, so on to day 9, prompt market. My favorite illustration so far. I love how this one turned out. Again, there was so much that went into this illustration. There was like the background stall and the people like in the midground, and then Lana and like the stall table and all the trinkets that she's looking at, like the antiques and stuff. And I was feeling really nervous when I went into this one because I really didn't want to mess it up. But I love how this turned out. Lana looks so cute, like kind of peeking over the table. I thought I would try to capture that because I know like whenever I've done markets, because my stuff is so colourful, kids always like are drawn to it. It's quite comical actually because the kids kind of see all my stuff. You can see that the eyes just kind of like wide and like woo, all the pretty colors, and they like go straight towards my stall, and then their parents were to like hold them back because they're afraid of their kids breaking stuff. It's quite comical. So I wanted to kind of capture that, and I think I did. And I wanted all sorts of different like antiques and trinkets on there. I'm really happy with how those turned out too, especially the jug. I remember the first time I drew a jug and it was like so challenging, but this time it wasn't that challenging to put down. So yeah, I was really impressed with myself. It took forever to get the sketch down though. Oh my word, it took forever. Yeah, it took a really long time. I don't think I've ever taken that long to do a sketch before. It was a long time, but I'm happy with how it turned out, so it's perfectly fine. I think, I mean, I put a lot of time into most of my illustrations. I mean, I'm very slow anyway. Like, I never understand how someone's like, oh yeah, it takes me like 2 or 3 hours to finish an illustration. I'm like, how do you go from sketching to completion in like 2 to 3 hours? I don't understand. Like, yeah. So I think some of it is like lack of skill in some areas because like I'm struggling with trying to get something down on paper. But I'm mostly just a slow creative because even if I'm doing something I'm comfortable with, it takes me like a day to do something. Um, I'm hoping that one day I will be a lot faster, but I don't know if that's a possibility. But this one, I put a lot more time into it, trying to get everything right. And I love how it turned out. I know I'll say this a lot in this part of the video. I absolutely love how this turned out. Yeah, so with the marker stall in the background, I went with that same kind of just abstract like shapes on the stall. And then the people, you can see that they're walking in different directions. I didn't want them all to look like they were like walking in the same direction. So some of them are slightly different. Some might be walking like towards the stall, like away from the stall. So I thought I would do that. So you can see some of them will have arms, like how they're holding their umbrellas. And then the antiques and stuff, it took a long time to put down. It also took a long time to paint. It was a lot of like different shading and layers and all that jazz. But it turned out really nicely. One thing I did, I did make a couple mistakes with like lighting. Yeah, it wasn't extremely consistent. It's not that noticeable though, which is good. I think if it was extremely noticeable, I might be able to fix it up digitally, but it wasn't, the lighting wasn't consistent for sure. But I like it, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, I really love how this one turned out. I did enjoy doing it though. I know it took a long time and some of it was kind of tedious, like all the layerings, especially with the trinkets, but I really enjoyed doing it. I enjoyed like looking at all the different antiques. What I found is interesting, like when I was looking at antiques, I do, of course, I have that Pinterest board that I use for references. I'll link below. When I was looking at different antiques, a lot of antiques are very ugly and gaudy. Like some of them look as if you could get them at like a Clears or something, or Poundland. Especially some of the jewelry, but they're like antiques with like gold and stuff. I think maybe it's just all the gold because I love gold, but I think you have to find a good way to balance it. So I'm not too sure with some of them, but they were good inspiration to make the antiques and like trinkets I was looking for. And one of the things I did do was when I've gotten most of it down, I didn't want it to be too like full and like chocked full with like all of these like antiques and stuff, because I didn't also want to be able to see Lana quite easily. I didn't really want anything in front of her face. So I made sure to like have a few different heights and a few different shapes, and I had a lot of empty space by the end of it. So I decided to add like these kind of spheres and diamonds all over the table. Like I know from doing markets, like sometimes if I had empty space, I would like have these really cute little cactus like candles that one of my friend's little sisters like gave to me. So I would use that to fill space. And I know sometimes people use like sequins or like confetti just to make the table look a little bit less empty, but without making it look like over full. So that's what I was kind of going for. So especially since it's supposed to be a kind of antiques trinket thing, I thought having like these kind of shiny little diamonds and like sphere kind of confetti things kind of sprinkled around would kind of add to that feel. So that's what I was thinking when I added those. I also added some like bracelets. I added like a key, a mirror, a shell. So I feel like mostly like kind of jugs and bottles and boxes, but a few like other random things just to kind of give that feel to the market stall. So I like how that turned out. With the people, nothing much with the people really. Again, the same kind of shapes. I slightly differed the shape a little bit when they were like walking side to side, but not that much. What I will say is though, I put the shapes in and it's weird because it's just shapes, but because the shapes are supposed to look like people, you do have to put a little bit more thought into it, at least I did, to make it look right. So I couldn't just put like a triangle and just call it done. Like I had to make sure like the head and the body looked like the right kind of size and were like the right kind of shapes. That was kind of interesting to see that even though it was a very abstract, simple look, that there still was some thought that went into it. And one thing I kind of made a mistake with, well, actually not a mistake, I just kind of forgot about it. Just above the background stall, it's just the plain white paper. And something was looking off. Like, even when I finished everything, I was like, it looks good, but something looks strange. Like, it looks really short. And I realized I had that like white space. So I added a very light wash of coffee just to kind of give it more of an off-white look, and that looked a lot better because nothing in my illustrations are like completely white except for like maybe the border around the illustration. So I added that wash and that helped a lot more. And you can also see that I don't go straight up to the edge of the paper. I do want the like edges of the illustrations to look a little bit kind of messy looking, not like a perfect frame. That's the kind of look I'm going for, so I do remember to like do that. Yeah, so that's one thing. Sometimes you have to kind of take a step back, or just make sure that you're not having something that just kind of stands out too much. So that white space was it just didn't look right. So I fixed that up, and that just finished everything off. And with this was like the first time I had a more like intricate, complex background with Lana in it. So I was trying my best to add details to the background, but not too much to draw away from Lana and like the table. And I think I did that well. When I used the color pencils as well, I also made sure that most of that was concentrated on the foreground and just some of it in the midground and background. I think I'm using the right terminology. I'm pretty sure I am. But yes, so that's what I was just making sure I got right. So I think that's pretty much it. Next week's video will be a look through of some old artwork I did as a child, as well as some like my first art journals, as well as some stories that I wrote when like I was home educated. So I had to write stories and stuff for like English, which I didn't enjoy, but it's really funny to look back now and see how unenthusiastic I was. And I was just basically just doing just enough so my mom would go, okay, well, at least you did the work, and just leave me alone. So I'll be doing that. Videos might be kind of random, to be honest. They're going to be all over the place in May. I apologize in advance. I also apologize for this voiceover. I know it's kind of all over the place, but this video is already late for this week, so I just thought I would just try to get it out. Yeah, I hope I improve during May, get my practice back. It's interesting like how little time it takes for me to get out of practice with certain things. So yeah, so that will be next week's video, like a kind of nostalgia trip. And yeah, if you want to request any kind of videos for the future, even if I can't get to them straight away, I will like have a list of things that you want to see. So let me know any challenges you might want me to do. If you have any challenges you want me to do with my left hand, let me know. A patron suggested I do landscapes, and that was really fun. Somebody else also suggested I did like a continuous line drawing. So let me know if you want to see me do anything with my left hand in particular while you still have the chance, while I'm using my left hand mainly. And I will get to that. So let me know in the comments below. And yeah, so I'm just lining everything with the coffee. I'll be going on to pencil soon. Some of the antiques I have like added patterns to, and some I wanted to leave plain. I wanted everything to look slightly different, which is why some are plain and some are not. And again, I do add like those patterns in a little bit with the white gel pen as well. And yes, so this, I absolutely love it. I was really happy with how it turned out. I'm glad to actually leave this video on a positive note because I was so happy with this illustration. And that's pretty much it. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please do give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can click the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. Thanks again for being so patient. I hope that we'll be able to get to normal soon. And yeah, so thanks again for watching. Let me know what you've been up to. I want to thank everyone who did join in with the challenge. That was really nice to see. And I think that's it. So I will see you guys next week. I hope you guys have a great week, and yeah, thanks again for watching. Bye!